talking
All
about
right, yeah,
Nintendo.
cool. You guys
Uh,
talk. I'll just
Nintendo
let my
Indie
Switch on
World. So
Nintendo.
we actually
Oh
had a
wait, no, actually,
bunch.
I did watch this. Yeah.
I do like how you go, oh, I'm going to skip the Nintendo segment as he pulls up his Nintendo Switch
Yeah,
Lite, which
exactly.
he also has a Nintendo Switch as well. He's literally got both.
Oh, yeah. In case you're not watching this on YouTube, yes, I pulled out my light.
Switch is
Well,
like
that's
my
what I said.
primary
That's what I
console.
literally said.
I know. I'm just echoing.
That's why I said the
thoughts.
whole thing for
Yeah.
our audio listeners.
No, but this part I will pay attention to because I actually did watch, and there were a couple of games that I thought looked
Pay
cool.
attention to everything.
No, I don't
And
pay attention to everything. You guys send me all these links, and I'm like, oh my god, I'm overwhelmed with links. What am I supposed to click on?
so we should have a word of warning. This is quite Nintendo centric because oddly enough, they did have a lot of announcements this week, multiple different sort of directs and videos that came out and broader news as well. But just in terms of the Nindy world, for me, Swinny, the things I'm going to highlight, and I'll let you highlight the others. Spelunky 1 and 2. I was always surprised that Spelunky 1 wasn't out on the Switch, but I never thought maybe they were just holding it back so then they can release both Spelunky 1 and Spelunky 2. I've always wanted to get into these games. I've always heard that they're quite tricky rogue-like platformers, but very good ones. So I think this is, again, it's one of those things. I'll wait for the reviews. If this runs well, as it should, but you never know with the Switch. If it runs well on the Switch, I think I'll pick up Spelunky 2 on the Switch. Because it just sounds like there's kind of no reason to get Spelunky 1. I don't know. Is that wrong? Or
Well, no, maybe. It's kind of like Dig.
SteamWorld
As
Dig?
yeah, SteamWorld Dig. So
I like how you just say dig and I knew what you were saying.
I was lucky enough because it's synonymous with the term is synonymous, I guess, with the game now. But
I just think of that documentary about the
which
what was that band?
the Dig.
Oh, those anyway. Don't worry about it.
Oh my god, that was a documentary about a band. Okay.
No, remember we watched it together. It was about
documentary.
the Dandy Warhols. Dandy Warhols. That's it. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Anyway.
Cool.
So when you say dig, I just think that, but yeah, whatever.
So it's worth playing number 1 and then jumping onto number 2 because number 1's a really cool game as well. But I find that if you play number 2, it's hard to get into number 1 because they made so many improvements in number 2. And my girlfriend played number 2, got hooked on it, loved it. And then she tried to play number 1 and she just couldn't get into it because there's a bunch of mechanics that exist in that number 2 didn't have, or she just didn't find as much fun. So she put it down.
Kind of proves my point to a degree. Like, because the other part of it is, and I know you guys feel like I have infinite time. I don't. It's like I only have component of time to play a game like this, so I might as well just play the best one, which is Spelunky 2.
Exactly.
Whereas SteamWorld Dig,
is it the best one? We don't know yet, do we? So
we'll wait for
maybe
the
number
reviews.
1 is still better in some way. I doubt it. Obviously, usually they polish it out.
And with just quickly with SteamWorld Dig 2 and 1, I actually played 2, and I love that game so much. Highly recommend getting that.
One of my favorite game on the Switch.
It's such a good game. It's weirdly like not talked about as much as I think it should be.
Yeah.
And then I went back and played SteamWorld Dig, the original one, and you're right. Like, there's a lot of mechanics that are missing, but I still really enjoyed that game.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's still a super solid game. But if you have the option, play number 1 and number 2, because if you enjoyed number 2, if you really like number 2, then it's worth playing number 1, so you don't have that experience. And then what I found was really cool is finishing number 1 and then jumping onto number 2 and experiencing all those improvements that they made. I was like, wow, this is sick. Like, I just love.
So we've got a lot of games to cover. So
we do. Sorry. Keep
going. Then there's so Spelunky 1 and 2 unfortunately is coming out in Q3 2021. Which kind of like really bums me out because I was like looking forward to playing that game. And then I'm like, oh my God, it's like 6 months away. Cyber Shadow. So funnily enough, everyone thinks this is from Yacht Club Games. It's published by Yacht Club Games. So they're not developing it, but it's developed by Mechanical Head Games. Looks really, really cool. Like what kind of vibe? There's a NES game. Jesus, just like Ninja
it's Ninja Gaiden.
Yeah, Ninja Gaiden.
With a bit of a Strider in it, and playing the Messenger, which is also very Ninja Gaiden like.
Yeah,
it's playing that and this trailer. This game looks just absolutely amazing. Now
it looks cool. Yeah.
I'd never heard about this game. It wasn't a brand new announcement. I don't know if it was an announcement for Switch.
No. We've heard of it. We've even seen trailers of it before.
But I hadn't seen it before. I'm like, what is this game? This looks phenomenal. The music, oh man, I can't wait to try.
It does look really cool. You know, I find it funny because I'm watching the trailer and I'm like, what's this game called? Cyber Ninja. And then right after that, it goes Cyber Shadow. I'm like, oh, great.
And do you want to cover Gnosia, John? Oh, it's
So
Gnosia, isn't it? Sorry.
yeah, I think it's Gnosia.
I think it's Gnosia, yeah.
Yeah, so this actually looks really cool. It's apparently a game. It's basically like a run-based deduction RPG. Now, I say RPG because apparently there's
Another
mechanics that carry over runs. But it's basically, it's like apparently it was a PS Vita, a game that was like a very cult hit.
Is this the one that had the really weird trailer? The anime one?
Yeah. So but basically it's cool. It's like basically it's like you can set, okay, for this run, I'm going to have 15 NPCs and potentially 3 of them are this alien, and you've got to try to figure out in that run who is the alien and stuff. So it's kind of cool. I actually like the idea, but it's not. It's a single player experience. So
it's like Among Us, but single player.
Yeah, but it's more like it's like a repeat. It's like a visual novel around like trying to deduct and figure out who's suspicious, but in a run, and you go through each time. I actually really like the idea.
Like a roguelike or roguelite style.
Well, if there's potentially RPG things that can carry over, then it's a roguelite.
They have to be a light. Okay, interesting. And I should say, sorry, Cyber Shadow is coming out Australia Day next year, so 26th of Jan 2021. Gnosia is early 2021. And then one thing I wanted to highlight was Grindstone. So I heard a lot of positive things about this game. I didn't get around to playing it on Apple Arcade, is where it launched. And I think you're starting to see so many games come from Apple Arcade onto Switch and actually get visibility and people playing it. I really wonder how Apple Arcade's going, because it's just something I never really hear anyone talking about, and I don't know, it just didn't vibe with me, Apple Arcade, but I heard a lot of really positive things about this. So this is
it's from Capybara, who are very well known, like Swords and Sorcery and Might and Magic Clash of Heroes and stuff like that. So,
and I think people described it as like an action match 3 puzzle game. I'm like, okay, this is really interesting. And a lot of people who aren't that into those style games have played this and said it's quite interesting. So it's one of those ones I'll keep an eye on the price, and if it ever dips, I might dip into it because it does look pretty sweet. Super Meat Boy Forever. I'm really fascinated about this game. I don't know about you guys, because Super Meat Boy was awesome, like one of the classic indie games, really. So this is coming out the 23rd of December as a console launch exclusive for Switch. Do we think that this game is going to launch well? It's kind of interesting because it's missing. What's his name? Ed McMullen, is that right?
McMullen, so it's Tommy Rafines or Rafines. I can't remember how to pronounce his name. He's still part of Team Meat working on it.
Yeah, so the developer, but not the creative force. Yeah.
I think this will hit well. I think they did a good. They did a good. It was a good strategy to launch on Switch first, I think.
Oh, yeah, it's definitely
an awesome platform for something like that.
Yeah. And it's partly procedurally generated, right? Unless they've changed it.
No, that's what that's what I heard as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Whereas the first one was completely handcrafted, so it'd be interesting to see how.
That's what I worry about, because to me that was almost one of the biggest appeals to the first game, how well crafted it was. So it felt odd to me that if that's what you're so good at, why would you take away from one of your big skills?
That's what I'm like as well. And I think you notice when a game is truly handcrafted versus when it's handcrafted systems that are then passed through an algorithm to create randomness. And I find a game, like if I think of a game like Pillars of Eternity or Baldur's Gate or something, where everything was so meticulously handcrafted.
Yeah,
I love something about that, because you know that when you go to a particular place, someone actually spent the time to design that, to put a particular item there, to do all of that. It wasn't just a randomly generated area with a randomly generated item. I feel like you'd lose some of the magic.
Oh, 100% agree.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm really interested to see how it launches. Maybe people find it totally fine, and maybe it's also the type of person that loves that type of game, wants thousands of levels. Like that's actually like perfect for them. Yeah.
I mean, look at Dead Cells. Look at any of those. If you look at the whole roguelike genre, that is highly based on randomness, and it's huge, and people love that stuff.
And Swinny, did you want to cover the next one?
Yeah,
the
just
next
to
one's
call out. So Happy Game looked. I will say Happy Game. So it's this cutesy game, but then is a horror game. Like it goes very disturbing. And it's from Amanita Design. That's actually the main thing that made me. Oh wait, and it's a machinarium. Oh sorry, machinarium or however you say it, or the Chuchel. And Chuchel's the game that I've always wanted to play, and I just never got around to it, which is just a really bizarre game. And
Machinarium was really cool.
yeah, I don't think this game is probably going to be for me because I'm just generally not a fan of this kind of stuff. But I could see this game. It's almost like the whole YouTube kids disturbing stuff. I could see this game kind of blowing up and getting a bit of a viral
Maybe,
thing.
yeah.
So.
This was actually probably the one that stood out the most to me as the most interesting one. I found like Super Meat Boy, it's great. It's probably an evolution of the existing game. Grindstone just didn't look like my kind of thing, but this just felt different. The art style, the creepiness, something felt completely different about this one.
And then the last one, which was the big sort of shock announcement, I guess.
Shock,
Partly
really?
because, well, yeah, it's one of the biggest games going around. I mean, like it won multiple awards at the Game Awards.
That's what I mean. There's nothing shocking that it's now on this
Among
platform.
Us. Among Us is coming to Switch, and it's available now
on the Switch.
I was saying this offline
Say
to
that,
Swinny that I actually, when I saw this announcement, I was like, it's not on the Switch? I just assumed it was
I guess
on the
that's
Switch.
the shocking part that it isn't yet on the Switch.
So, no, it is pretty massive because some people haven't played this game because they're either not wanting to get it on the phone, even though it's free, which would be weird, or they don't have a PC or, want to play games on PC. So, I think this will see a lot of success on the Switch.
Absolutely, I think it will.
It's already the number one game. I must admit, before it launched, I kind of would have assumed they would have just made it free. But yeah, it's interesting. I think you just see that trend that whenever a game is free on mobile, it costs a nominal amount of money on the Switch. And
probably, but it's probably also Nintendo charge something. But do they even have a model where you can put a game there for free unless it's a demo?
Yeah.
I don't. They do?
Yeah, Fortnite and stuff like that. Yeah, definitely. They've got free to play games.
They have to, yeah.
I mean, Among Us still monetized through, outfits, costume skins, all that kind of stuff. So, and like I said, it's the biggest game going around at the moment from a streaming and just, popularity perspective. Outside of the classics like Counter-Strike, which is amazingly still played by like almost 1 million people a day. It's just unreal.
Amazing, actually.
I know, it's just unbelievable.
Hang on, I feel like we missed a couple of games out though. There was the game.
These are just the highlights. So we did
Mike,
ask you. We did ask you pre-show.
Hey, what games you want to talk about? Let me list.
The one game that I didn't want to talk about that isn't even on the list. Not really. So the only other notable one that I could think of off the top of my head was the one it's made by the Peruvian guys, I think.
What's it called?
Oh my gosh, I don't remember the name of it. It sounds horrible to say this, but it actually looked interesting. It was the one set in the jungle.
I know the game you're talking about.
You don't know what I'm talking about, right?
I'm not going to tell you what it is.
I don't remember the name of it. I'm sorry. I'm really sorry to the developers that did it, but I actually thought it was pretty cool.
There is also this link that's right here in our run sheet says here's everything announced during Nintendo.
Where is that?
I'm zooming in on your face so the devs can see you.
I'm sorry.
So okay, all right. If you not open it up, then the game that you're talking about is Chuchel.
That's the one. Thank you.
So it's it looks like a cool little 2D brawler that's also got a guest character from Hat in Time, the Hat Kid or whatever. That does look pretty cool. Yeah,
I thought it was pretty cool. Yeah, to me that seemed much more interesting than Grindstone, which seemed grindy.
All right,
I think Grindstone seems all right. Like the last thing that I just want to say about Among Us is that Mike and I aren't that big of a fan of the game, and Swinny thinks that's unacceptable for us to have that opinion
because we didn't give it enough time.
Also, you agree?
I know firsthand that you haven't played a game properly. That's why I know.
Yeah, because you people kept cheating, but I feel like if we played a game properly, we might change our tune. I still don't really.
That's fair. Like
it's nothing new. It's nothing new.
It's nothing new, and it just didn't click at all.
Yeah,
with me.
There's nothing new.
And we have another friend whose name I won't mention that also feels the same.
Can we just, Mike, so that we can own this opinion because when he doesn't allow us to own it, we should organize a proper game and
we'll do a proper game. Yeah. Well,
How many
just
people do
shut
we
the
need,
hell
Sweeney?
up.
How many people do we
You
need?
need at
to
least
have?
6 people.
Okay, that's easy. We'll organize
Easy.
at least 6 people. We'll do 8.
Yeah, I'll get my
We'll probably
wife. You get your girlfriend on mobile, all
get
that
my
stuff.
other
They got it on
girlfriend as well,
Switch,
my
actually.
mistress.
Yeah,
They've got the Switch.
It's
Oh yeah,
just-
it's on Switch now, so we can
yeah,
do
harem.
that.
So talking about
And then-
Switch,
Then we can say we don't like it.